Gucci, the chaos that became iconic. Have you ever noticed how some success stories seem to start out neat, perfect, almost too clean? Well, Gucci was never part of that group. In fact, it's living proof that some of the world's biggest brands don't emerge from calm, but from chaos. And perhaps that's the detail no one told you. Sometimes, disorder doesn't hold you back. It pushes you forward. Strong, unexpected, almost without asking permission. What's most intriguing is that, while many companies crumbled in the first crisis, Gucci grew precisely where any other would have failed. Family feuds, betrayals, improbable decisions, absurd rebirths. All of this became fuel to create one of the most coveted empires in history. It's counterintuitive, I know. You learn that you need stability to prosper. But here the lesson is exactly the opposite. Chaos, when understood, becomes power. And maybe, just maybe, you're also going through a phase like that, where everything seems too chaotic to work out. But wait, the story you're about to hear could be a powerful turning point for you. Because if a brand built amidst wars, scandals, and tragedies became a global icon, imagine what you can do with your own chaos. So stay with me until the end, because understanding this journey can show you how to transform disorder into strength, and strength into legacy, the roots of ambition. Guccio Gucci was always that young man who observed more than he spoke. While many saw only humble tasks, he perceived hidden stories in the details: the shine of a wealthy guest's shoes, the soft touch of a well-packed suitcase, the elegant posture of someone who knew they carried the world in their pocket. He was curious by nature, but curious in the right way, the kind who notices what no one else does. And it was in this silent observation that ambition, still timid, began to stir within his soul. Working in luxury hotels wasn't as glamorous as it seemed to outsiders, but Guccio transformed it into an improvised classroom. While carrying luggage, he studied behaviors. While organizing objects, he absorbed patterns of elegance. And while observing the frenetic movements of the elite, he understood that wealth wasn't just money. It was a language. It's like when someone starts reading books on financial psychology and realizes that money isn't the protagonist, but the mindset behind it. Over time, something inside him began to throb like a stubborn reminder. This can be mine too. Not the wealth itself, but the universe it represented. Style, refinement, perfection. He understood that if he wanted to build something great, he would need to start small, just like someone who today decides to study design, marketing, or business through simple YouTube courses before dreaming of opening their own brand. Guccio sensed that the best was yet to come, even if he had no idea of the chaos that awaited him just ahead. The birth of the brand. Amidst chaos. When Guccio finally decided to open his own shop in Florence, the scenario was anything but favorable. The city was still healing from the scars of war, money circulated like a walking on eggshells, and resources were so scarce that improvisation became routine. But it is precisely in these chaotic scenarios that visionary minds find fertile ground. While many gave up before even trying, Guccio saw opportunity where others saw ruin. It was almost like opening a business today in the midst of a crisis. It seems like madness to those who can't see ahead. With very few materials available, he had to reinvent his own concept of creativity. If he lacked leather, he reused it. If he lacked accessories, he designed alternative versions. If he lacked support, he relied on his own intuition. It's the same reasoning as someone who wants to start a digital project but only has a simple cell phone. They use what they have, record with natural light, learn free editing, and don't wait for life to become perfect to start. Guccio understood early on that perfection doesn't come from abundance, but from the courage to do with little. It was in this turbulent environment that the brand took its first shape. Each piece produced seemed to carry an involuntary dose of resistance, as if the chaos of the time had permeated the leather, the fabrics, the details. This contrast between luxury and hardship created a unique identity, strong, almost stubborn, exactly like those people who, even facing storms, build something so solid that no one imagines the whirlwind that existed behind it. And, curiously, the whirlwind was only just beginning. The rise of craftsmanship that became legend over time. Guccio realized that what set his small shop apart was not just the effort, but the almost stubborn obsession with detail. He treated each piece as if he were shaping a legacy, not just producing an object. That's how the Gucci style was born: firm, elegant, meticulous. Those who observed closely saw that it wasn't just leather, it was history stitched by hand. It's like that craftsman who transforms his home into a small workshop and, without realizing it, creates something worthy of a museum. When bamboo entered the scene, it was almost by accident. Italy was facing a shortage of materials, and Guccio decided to experiment with something unusual. This unexpected touch became his signature. It's the same kind of turning point that happens when someone, without many resources, decides to study, design on Canva, learn branding techniques on YouTube, and suddenly creates their own aesthetic that no one else can copy. Guccio understood that innovation doesn't come from excess, but from intelligent improvisation, and this boldness gave the brand a charm that began to attract the world's attention. The most curious thing is that Gucci grew not because it tried to follow trends, but because it honored its own rhythm. Each seamstress, each artisan, each small gesture seemed to contribute to a standard of excellence that couldn't be explained. It could be felt. It was as if each piece breathed personality. And when a brand achieves that, it ceases to be just a product and becomes a symbol. What no one imagined was that, behind this refined symbol, a family storm was brewing, preparing the ground for the greatest chaos Gucci had ever faced. Family feuds, the chaos that almost ruined everything. As the brand grew, the Gucci family seemed to be living that old story. Everyone loves success, but few are prepared to handle it. What began as a collective dream transformed into a chessboard of egos, where every move was calculated and every gesture seemed to hide a message. It resembled those families who start a business together, and when the money starts rolling in, disputes arise over who does more and who has less power. At Gucci, the tension grew like a slow fire, almost imperceptible at first, but devastating over time. The cousins fought, the siblings disagreed, and even the meetings resembled luxurious gladiatorial arenas. Vanity took hold, and each family member wanted to mold the brand's future in their own image. It's like when you start a project with friends and suddenly everyone wants to be CEO, creative director, and visionary all at once. The problem is that while they fought amongst themselves, the market watched silently, realizing that Italy's most elegant brand was being dismantled from within. The family chaos eroded the shine the public saw on the outside. And the more the empire grew, the more the atmosphere heated up. The dispute wasn't just about money. It was about power, legacy, control. It was as if each one carried a different version of what Gucci should be, transforming simple discussions into epic battles. Little by little, the family began to lose control of what they had built with so much sweat. And it was in this inflamed environment that one of the most tragic episodes in fashion history began to take shape, driven not only by ambition, but by something much darker. The assassination of Maurizio Gucci. The murder of Maurizio Gucci was the darkest point in the entire saga of the brand, a global shock that exposed wounds that had long simmered behind the scenes. The truth is that Maurizio was not just an heir. He carried on his shoulders the weight of a name, the expectations of generations, and the pressure of maintaining an empire that was already fractured from the start. With each decision, he seemed to walk through an emotional minefield. It's like being the son trying to reorganize the family business while everyone looks over their shoulder, waiting for him to stumble. As his choices began to bother some of the family, especially those who felt left out, the atmosphere became increasingly toxic. His relationship with Patrizia Reggiani, marked by glamour and turbulence, fueled speculation, resentment, and a chain of impulsive decisions. It's the kind of relationship that, from afar, seems luxurious and perfect, but inside it functions like a pressure cooker about to explode. And when the pressure cooker explodes, you usually don't choose the best moment, nor the best consequence. When the crime happened, the world stopped. The news filled the newspapers like a tragic soap opera, mixing love, money, power, and revenge in a plot so dramatic that not even cinema would dare to invent it. It was the peak of family chaos, a point of no return that showed that sometimes luxury hides shadows that no one dares to confront. Maurizio's death almost completely sank the Gucci empire, leaving the brand directionless, leaderless, and, above all, without identity. And it was in this void that a new era, unexpected and revolutionary, began to take shape. The resurrection of Gucci. After Maurizio's murder, Gucci resembled an abandoned house. Luxurious walls, but no soul to support them. Sales plummeted, investors were suspicious, and the brand, once synonymous with elegance, was now remembered for the scandal. It was then that Domenico De Sole entered the scene, not as a savior, but as the kind of manager who understands that to rebuild something, you first have to sweep the chaos from the floor. He knew the brand needed order, strategy, and above all, a vision for the future. The big turning point began when De Sole brought in Tom Ford to take over creative direction. Tom saw something no one else did. Gucci didn't just need new clothes, it needed a new spirit. And he brought exactly that: sensuality, boldness, an aggressive aesthetic that clashed with the monotony of 90s fashion. It's like that professional who, when arriving at a failing company, doesn't just revise processes, he renews the culture, identity, and energy. Tom Ford gave Gucci back what it had lost: desire. With cinematic campaigns, provocative pieces, and razor-sharp communication, Tom Ford transformed Gucci into an object of global obsession. Suddenly, the brand ceased to be a name tarnished by tragedies and became synonymous with status once again. It was like watching someone reborn after a profound trauma. No longer the same person, but a stronger, more conscious, and undeniably powerful version. And this rise, marked by audacity and reinvention, paved the way for the cultural dominance that Gucci would achieve in the following years. Becoming a global icon. As the world entered the new millennium, Gucci ceased to be just a luxury brand and became a cultural symbol. It no longer sold products, it sold belonging, attitude, presence. Young people embraced the brand's bold style as if finding their own language, something that says exactly what words cannot express. Gucci became status, but it also became identity. It's like when someone discovers a musical style that seems to translate everything they feel inside. Aggressive and intelligent marketing was another powerful weapon. While other brands relied on the traditional, Gucci mixed fashion with music, film, art, and above all, storytelling. Campaigns became stories. Runways became spectacles. Fashion shows resembled films. This strategy is very similar to what influencers do today. They don't sell products, they sell context, they sell purpose. Those who buy don't just want the bag, they want the feeling of being inside the Gucci universe, breathing the same symbolic air. The result was an almost cinematic rise. Artists, celebrities, and big names in culture began to wear the brand like a modern trophy. Gucci became a constant presence on red carpets, magazine covers, and music videos that shaped the imagination of the time. It was as if, suddenly, the brand had ceased to be just fashion and had become a global phenomenon. But the most interesting thing is to realize that, behind all this glamour, there was something much deeper, a chaotic heritage that, curiously, would become the greatest secret to Gucci's enduring success. The legacy of chaos. The most fascinating thing about Gucci is that, when you look at its trajectory, you realize an unexpected truth. It was precisely the chaos that shaped the myth. Each crisis, each fight, each upheaval served as fuel for reinventions that other brands would never dare to make. Gucci wasn't born to be static. It was born to transform. It's like those people who, after so many falls, develop a strength that only those who have faced the abyss can understand. The brand's legacy goes far beyond iconic pieces. It's rooted in the ability to transform pain into style, conflict into creativity, and disorder into strategy. While many companies try to hide their weaknesses, Gucci has learned to dance with them. This is very reminiscent of entrepreneurs who, after painful failures, build businesses so solid they seem lucky, when in fact they were shaped by resilience. The brand has become a symbol of luxury not only for its aesthetics, but for its history of survival. And today, when someone wears a Gucci piece, they may not even realize they are carrying with them an entire chapter of overcoming adversity, family drama, and rebirth. But that's the magic. Chaos became art, crisis became a symbol, and pain became identity. Gucci became iconic not despite the chaos, but because of it. And when you understand that, you can see that the next step in this story is even more intriguing, because it directly touches on what you, yes, you, can learn from this legacy. Transform your chaos into power. Ultimately, Gucci's story offers one of the most valuable lessons anyone can learn. You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect to achieve something great. In fact, it might be the opposite. The chaos you face today could be the very push that propels you to build something no one expected. And I ask you, how many times have you failed to move forward because you believed that the time wasn't right? Look at your life right now. What's a mess? What area seems out of control? What have you been avoiding facing because you think you're not ready yet? Maybe that's your Gucci moment, that silent turning point where everything starts to change, not because it's become easy, but because you've decided to act anyway. The truth is, chaos doesn't define you. It prepares you. And before you go, let me ask you honestly, are you willing to transform your chaos into power from now on? If the answer is yes, then you've already taken the first step, the step that few have the courage to take. Now, if this content made sense to you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay with me. Here, you will find stories, reflections, and paths that can completely change the way you see your own life. The next chapter of your growth begins when you decide not to walk alone.